BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello and welcome to this here episode 547, forgot what number it was then, of BRB UK, a podcast in the UK where we like to talk about video games for BigRedBarrel.com. I am Coleman, filling in for Dan this week in the main hot seat. Dan, as far as I'm aware, he's gone off to, he's doing some kind of like deep sea touring, looking at a big ship underwater or so. I don't know. I haven't heard of him for a while. I hope he's okay. With me this week is Timothy Kenneth James Hibbs.
Hello, sir.
Right, so Tim, we're going to jump right into it because there has been a Nintendo Direct this week that we need to be talking about. But first of all, we've got a bit of catch up on a lot of stuff that we have been playing. And first of all, I thought we'd go back into Street Fighter 6 because even though I don't think the listeners got quite enough of hearing you talk about Street Fighter for 40 minutes of a podcast a couple of weeks back. So I thought I'd add a little bit more of my own 2 cents. Don't worry, we're not going to take up most of the show talking about this. I just wanted to say that I also have been playing Street Fighter 6. It's been the main game that I have been playing for the last couple of weeks. It is you've probably been seeing it touted everywhere because of all the improvements that have been made. Has made it more of a more inviting fighter to pick up for a lot of people that usually wouldn't get involved in fighting games. And I do like fighting games, but I always kind of struggle with Street Fighter because I find the combo systems a bit hard to master. And this is a much more inviting way to sort of pick up and play and just get into the game by doing the new controls. Although I do intend to at some point start learning more classic controls, I just kind of like this for the story mode and stuff at the moment. I like the World Tour mode. I think that's fun. You've got crap Yakuza, basically, starring the cast of Street Fighter and a bunch of Easter eggs and hidden things in there. I'm enjoying that. It is kind of cool going around Metro City and just walking up to an old grandma and then suddenly getting ready to fight and knocking 7 bells of ass out of them because because everyone fights now. But the AI is so dumbed down that you kind of just spam every single character there, so it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah. But having a lot of fun with that. Not played the online as much unless I wanted to kind of farm tokens to get some unlockables, doing the avatar fights, which I lose every time because my avatar is so low powered compared to a lot of these ones online. Yeah. And I'm really just enjoying a new take on Street Fighter, kind of new look to the characters, returning old ones, lots of new characters in there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes in the future with DLC because we know Capcom loves selling you extra characters and they love doing it for a pretty penny too.
I think they've already announced the next 4 characters that I think covers the next year, I think they said, which I was a bit surprised by. I might be wrong on some of that. But yeah, I think so. I remember Rashid's in there. Can't remember who else, but there's 3 other characters as well that they've already announced. But yeah, I'm glad you're liking it. You do get to do a bit more of a world tour, so that the world tour mode makes a bit more sense outside of Metro City. But it seems like Metro City is by far the largest area in the world tour mode. Also, I realised that I slightly misspoke a couple of weeks ago when I said that Cammy's costume was a bit more grown up because they've still got her old one unlockable in the game. So
yeah, you did mention that when we were playing the other day. So I came around yours to play Street Fighter, and I think I won 2 matches out of about 100.
I think you won 3. I think you won more than
we'll
2.
Be polite.
Yeah,
3 rounds.
I think it was. I think it was 10-3 in the end. But yeah, I think you being on modern controls gives you a slight disadvantage there, though.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I should just learn, but I'm enjoying it. And so is a lot of people. It's sold very, very well. It's doing very well. It seems to have a bustling community of people fighting online, and I'm glad everyone's enjoying it. So if you're enjoying it, let us know in the groups and things, and we can talk about doing a street fight. Or we could just talk about the game in general. Or maybe you're looking for recommendations. If you want to know more, let us know. Street Fighter 6. It's a pretty damn good game. Now, you have been playing demos, and I have been playing demos. I forgot to mark one of mine down, but we have one similar. But I'll let you start with Lies of P first, if that's okay, Tim, because this is an interesting Souls-like game.
Yeah, that's the one that I played slightly less of. I played enough to get to the first boss, and I think there's 3 bosses in the demo from what I've seen.
Then it should be quick.
Then it should be fairly quick. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a lot of people have said Souls-like games, but I can see why people are possibly having more parallels with Bloodborne in terms of setting and theme. But the theme's a bit weird on top of that as well, because for some reason you're Pinocchio. And I still haven't entirely worked out why. Like, when you die, it says, like, lie or die or something. Or, like, it talks about lying, and it talks about lying when it means loading. And that's about it. Also, you have a metal arm that does some stuff. But,
okay.
But yeah,
Wooden nose, metal arm.
Yeah, it's a third-person character action game where, as you're playing as Pinocchio, hence the P in the Lies of P. And yeah, it's very much in the kind of, it's got bonfires that it calls something else. It's got the same sort of enemy patterns and stuff where if you go to one of those areas, it resets the enemies around you and all that type of stuff that we've also seen outside of other Souls games. But you know what it means, well, there's Souls like. But yeah, like, I liked it. I didn't love it, basically. Like, I got, as I said, I got through some of the tougher enemies, got to the boss, and didn't give it too many more goes. There was quite a few demos out. There's a few things we're playing for review this week as well, so I haven't had much time to go back into it. And if anything, I'd probably go back into the other demo that I did complete. I enjoyed it, and I think it's coming to Game Pass, so everyone on Game Pass will get a chance to play it there. Not sure with the news they announced this week that we may come on to later, but with the change in pricing of Xbox coming up, how long I'll actually be on Game Pass, so we'll see. But I'll probably wait it out till Starfield comes out. So yeah, might be giving Lies of P a try, maybe. I can see why it would please fans of Bloodborne, particularly Souls-like games in general. It seems reasonably high quality. It's just, for me, it was a case of, I should go back and complete Elden Ring rather than I need to rush to play this game sort of idea. But yeah, like, it looks quite nice. It plays reasonably well. Just, I'm not sure how massively keen on it I am at the moment, basically. Reflected by the fact that I didn't finish the demo.
I still need to play it just because it's an interesting concept to me, and I do like a Souls-like game. So I am actually quite excited by this one. I did see there was some kind of blowback about the dodge mechanic, the roll mechanic being a bit iffy in the game, and that's something the developers have said that they're going to patch before the game comes out. If that's an issue you've had playing the demo, then that's one to realize that they are going to try and fix before the game's out anyway. So yeah, looking forward to giving that one a go. The one I have been playing, and I was hoping I was going to play the demo and then have the full game ready. So I've taken my PlayStation to work because I'm not getting enough time to play it at home.
Yeah.
So I went, I'll take it to work, and then that way, in my 1 hour lunch break, I can play PlayStation. And so far, I have done that once.
Oh.
Twice, actually, in fact, this week. But I'm just not getting the chance to play it as much as I can, so I don't know when I can play it. But Final Fantasy 16, there's been a demo out for, a week now?
Yeah.
And
just over.
The actual game came out today as we're recording, and I was meant to receive my copy today, but it got sent to the wrong depot apparently and has to be redelivered tomorrow instead.
Right.
So I was hoping I'd get through the demo, and then I was hoping it would arrive like a reasonable time in the day, and then I could install the disc and have it waiting for lunch break and carry on a little bit to give my kind of first impressions. But no, still on the demo, unfortunately.
No.
But it's a good demo. It's basically the open. You played this as well, did you, Tim?
Yeah. As I said, I played to the end. I didn't go back and do some of the other challenges you can do after you complete the story that it gives you. But yeah.
So this is basically the opening of Final Fantasy 16. It's your more kind of tutorial heavy opening, get to grips with the new battle system and how the game works and the story around you and stuff, and just all the basic setup. It's an interesting one, I thought, because it's a very good looking game in some places. In some other places, it's got that kind of typical Final Fantasy look of face models and the way characters are.
Yeah.
And some of the voice acting, they have amazing voice actors and it's really good. Some of it is that kind of typical Japanese game that's been translated into English, and then they have English voice actors, but it just something seems off with the tone of how everyone's portrayed. And so some of it's great, some of it's a little bit ropey. But the demo itself, if you like Final Fantasy games, I thought this was really good. And it had a whole kind of a new take on the summons from previous games. So like Phoenix and Ifrit are the big ones that we see in this one. But they're more kind of interwoven into the story. There's a big reason why these summons exist, which I thought was pretty cool. What were your impressions, Tim?
Yeah, I liked it, and if I wasn't reasonably hands full with games that I've already got, this demo probably would have convinced me to pick up a game that I otherwise might not have. But for now, I don't feel the immediate need to pick it up. And as I said, I've got other things I'd rather be playing or am playing already, as we'll come on to later in the week. And Street Fighter is one of the things in that list as well. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I played, and I liked it. Again, a very high quality game, and I can see why other people are excited for it. And it's on my radar now. I might pick it up when it's cheap at some point so that I can play through it, basically. But I'm not in a massive rush to do so at the moment.
How did you get along with the combat mechanics? Because it's been a while since we had menu turn-based fighting in Final Fantasy, and it's getting more and more like a Kingdom Hearts within each iteration. It's running around. There's a hack and slash element to it. There's spells. There's team mechanics and stuff, and all that's in there. But this one feels the most fast-paced hack and slash out of previous game mechanics, I thought.
Yeah, you can tell. I think it was I can't remember exactly his position, but a director or someone on the project that worked on Devil May Cry series, and you can kind of tell.
Oh, right.
And it's no bad thing. I like that, and I like this. And there's an immediacy to it, but also it gives you literal equipment, but also just the needs and the stuff that you want to be able to easily retaliate and easily dodge and sort of make it so that it didn't seem that hard, but you can make it even easier with actually equipping some equipment that makes it so that you automatically dodge and other stuff like that, basically. So I don't know about you, but I did fiddle around with some of that stuff, and that seemed to make it a bit too easy in some cases. But like you can get stuff where it automatically heals you when you're getting low on energy, which obviously is good, but sort of took away some of the strategic element of when you heal in a fight and all that type of stuff. And
it's something that's had some controversy to it, because I think there's four gear slots, and it's 4 different charms that give you the different abilities. But those specific abilities, those are your accessibility options. They've just turned them into armor in the game, essentially, in-game items. And there was some complaining about this because it means you have 4 slots that will be in use by these things, and then if you want to slot something in new, you're then judging on what accessibility options you can live with and without. Yeah. So if you are someone, say, like a disabled gamer or someone who needs that extra help, then it doesn't seem like a great deal. However, I tried them just to play around with them, see how they worked, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and then immediately unequipped them because I didn't want the extra help in the game. They're clearly not made for me, but I just wanted to see how they worked, and they were pretty cool. Like you say, there's instant dodge, or you could just spam with one button on attack, and it will kind of mix in all your specials and things into it. Makes it a lot easier. The auto heal thing, I can see that being quite handy. I think it's if you go to like 15% of your health, you automatically heal yourself, use up a potion. I could see stuff like that being handy, especially in a boss fight as well. But I liked the accessibility options, but I see why some people are annoyed. There should I haven't got the full game yet. I don't know if there's some kind of option in there to just go, I'll always have these on, and we'll just not have stuff equipped. But I don't know. Maybe there's something like that. I haven't looked into it. But overall, the demo was really good. It convinced me to go and get the game for myself. I'm looking forward to playing it. No idea how I'm going to have the time to play it, but I'm looking forward to getting into it a bit more.
Yep.
Right. You've also got, so we had recently, Jorg was on the show, you were interviewing him about The Last Worker, and more importantly, Sea Smash VR, which is an upcoming VR title for PlayStation VR 2. Sorry, VRS. And you put it on here with a nice little asterisk because you want to add to that? Basically, I have to preface this with one thing, that I did get sent a review code for this, although you can kind of offset that by the fact that I mainly did that for early access, so I can talk about it on the show today because the embargo was up today. But I've been playing this
before review, so there's some things that might, change when it goes live, etc. But yeah, I say you can kind of offset that because I actually paid for the game already. I'd pre-ordered it already, basically. So after doing the interview, they offered me a review code, and I did say, well, I've pre-ordered it already, but I wouldn't mind being able to get early access. Mainly because, I'd like to be able to talk about this game at this point and sort of help with its launch, which is tomorrow, basically, or today as you're hearing this, most likely, if you're listening to it on the first day this comes out. But yeah, it's a game that we've spoken about before on the show because I played the demo. There's the interview there, which you can go and kind of get some more information, some inside information from Jorg. Thought it was a pretty fun interview, but I wanted to interview him because I'm interested in the game as well. And I think it's an interesting story. Anyone doesn't know or hadn't heard us talk about it before, it's a kind of futuristic, minimalist sports sim. We kind of mentioned this in the interview, but a bit like Spark on the previous generation, but a bit of enough of its own thing, but actually a recreation of an original Dreamcast game made by Sega that came... I don't think it came out in this country on the Dreamcast. It was an arcade, and particularly on the Dreamcast in Japan. And then this is a game that this is a spiritual successor, a remake of, basically. And yeah, it plays really well. Pretty much like I said with the demo, I really like how it plays. I've played through all of the single-player campaign, the journey mode as it puts it. You can play that in a kind of Zen way, as they say, where you get to retry levels when you fail, and you can just play all the way through. Or you can try and play it in a kind of roguelike fashion where you actually, die, and that's it. You go back to the beginning, basically. The journey mode centers around 5 different planets, basically, and your orbit around 5 different planets, as I understand it. It doesn't necessarily spell that out, but you're kind of, on the kind of orbit of planets, you can pick out different things and they'll have different bonuses to them, basically. And it might change the way your power shot works. It might do other things. It might make some of the barriers that are in the way normally invisible so you can get through them. It kind of changes some of the conditions of what you're doing. There's also ones that help clear other blocks. Anyone doesn't know as well, there's a one-on-one squash kind of like center to the game that also revolves around a kind of breakout style mechanic in different modes. So the journey mode and most of that centers around having a series of different panels in a long corridor opposite you that you are hitting a ball back and forth in a squash-like fashion. And yeah, like it looks even sharper and even crisper than in the demo. I know they tweaked the demo, so I can't remember if I'm going more on my memory of what it looked like initially. But the graphics look a lot crisper, a lot cleaner. It's a graphical style that is minimalist, but really kind of suits the VR environment, and everything looks really nice. There's some good humor to kind of what's going on in the background of the court that you're playing in. And yeah, like the journey mode kind of mixes it up with a series of different barriers and different like puzzles that you've got to get through in a set amount of time. You're graded on, how well you do A, B, or C. And yeah, you kind of progress through the game and you can go back and replay to kind of get better scores on each one. But there's also different configurations to the journey that you take and the route that you take going through. And eventually you get to, and I'm not sure how much I should say about the end of the game, but you get to a kind of boss stage, let's say. I won't go into it too much more than that, but it kind of, it does have, there's no like real story to it, but there is a kind of element of a thread of what's going on throughout as your court slowly gets pulled apart. And you lose more of the ground and stuff as you're going through the game. The journey mode is all kind of single player. I think they said there was going to be a co-op element, but I haven't played or seen any of that yet. I did get to play a bit of the multiplayer, which is the other kind of major half of the game and probably where, it will have a bit more longevity. And there's 4 different modes in that. Now, there's the one that was in the demo, which is a bit like a kind of breakout thing. Each player has a wall of different grid of kind of different squares, and they kind of have different compositions as you go through the levels of them. So once, for instance, there's it's split into 3 behind you. Once the 3 things get hit, the wall then may split into 6 different compartments, and you have to hit each one to make them disappear, to move on to the next wall. And it's just, you get more points for each thing that you hit, and you have to kind of go through and try and get more than your opposition player, basically. There's also a kind of smash move that you can kind of build up after a bit of a rally, and you can sort of tactically see when you unleash that, whether, you know, on a crucial rally or a crucial point. I only played against one opponent, but I did try all the different 4 modes. As I said, that was the one that was in the demo. There's another one called Firewall, where there's an actual wall in between you and the other player. And different sectors of that are initially a neutral color, and you have to turn to your color. If you get the whole wall turned to your color, then you win. But generally, it's about pushing it back and forth, and you get more points for the more sectors that you have control of throughout the game. As you hit more sections of the wall, it gets further towards your opponent and further away from you, which means it does take you a bit longer to get shots off. But it's a bit harder for them because it's kind of close up and fast. So, there's a kind of back and forth mechanic to that. That works really nicely. There is another mode called Body Shot, where you're literally just trying to hit your opponent with the ball, and you each have a ball. And then it's just a matter of going back and forth, and it's the first one to hit the opponent 5 times. That's in a much thinner corridor as well, and kind of, that gets really hectic from what I've seen of that, and that was enjoyable. And there's one other mode that I forget exactly how it works. I only played it a couple of times, but yeah, I enjoyed that as well, basically. Overall, I'm going to have to play it a bit more because I only literally got to play through for one day. As I said, I've done one playthrough of the journey mode and tried out all the multiplayer stuff. I like everything that I've seen. As I said, it looks crisper than it did before. It feels exactly as it did in the demo once they kind of patched it and fixed a couple of things. There is a day 1 patch coming as well, so I'll report back when I've had a bit more time to actually play that and to play a few more people, because I only got to play against one opponent. And he did a good job of kicking my ass most of the time. So it was, I still really enjoyed it. It's something I definitely want to put a bit more time into. I want to replay the journey mode, which took, incidentally, about probably an hour and a half of pretty sweaty times to actually get through. And yeah, I think it's the multiplayer that will probably, be the thing that has to have some legs and some time to sort of see how that sort of beds in, and whether there's a community of people that support it. I hope they do, and I hope that some people listening might be interested as well, because I think it's a really good game and definitely worth playing. If you've got PlayStation VR 2, which is where I've played it, then I definitely recommend picking it up, basically.
Okay. And lastly, you've got Budget Cuts Ultimate. So I'm assuming this is an ultimate package of Budget Cuts on the PS2?
Yes,
PSVR 2, sorry.
Budget Cuts 1 and 2. We didn't originally get 2 on the PSVR 1. And this is a redone version of this. Now, I was supposed to get a review code for this. Well, I'd applied for a review code a bit ago. I didn't get it at the time of release. And then this came out the same week I was already committed to doing C-Smash VRS. And I think I've already committed to something for next week as well. So I'm not sure when I get a chance to fully play this. But I got code late for it, basically. So I was given a review code for this. I never played the original. I heard it was very good.
Have you not played it yet?
No, I have played through a couple of hours of it, basically.
Okay.
But I haven't got to Budget Cuts 2 because you can't try 2 without playing through the whole of 1 first. And I think I'm fairly far through that. Yeah, apparently it gets even more impressive graphically once you get to part 2. But because I'd never played part 1 before, I've actually enjoyed it more than I've heard from some other reviewers that seemed a bit jaded on it. I can see how it's not pushing any boundaries these days graphically, but apparently it has literally just had an update, which is the other reason why I'll come back to this more properly in the future. But it's a kind of robot-based sneak 'em up where you are seemingly the last human employee and everyone else has been mysteriously disappeared from the office. Budget cuts of the title appear to be mainly happening to the human employees in this set of offices. And basically you've been advised, almost in a Matrix-like fashion by a voice on the end of the phone that you can kind of pick up and dial every now and again throughout the game to get instructions. But you've been advised to get out of the building because your life is in danger, basically. It's a sneaking around kind of... You can kill enemies. It's robotic enemies that you can kind of stab with things, and you get a set of throwing knives and things that you can throw at stuff. And you can disrupt enemies, but generally you want to be kind of sneaking past and being sneaky. And you can teleport past people and can teleport through like thin gaps. There's a lot of like undoing an air vent to teleport through that and stuff like that. It's not pushing any graphical boundaries. It's not necessarily doing anything massively mechanically interesting these days. I can see how it was more impressive in the early days of VR. I'd like to see how that develops going into part 2, and I'll come back and talk about it more when it does, or save you guys the bother and actually talk about that with Kev, basically. But yeah, I just wanted to mention it at this stage because it is out. I like it so far. I enjoy it, and I'll come back to it. I'll come back at some point in time in the future, and we'll talk about it a bit more, possibly.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the games we have time to talk about, but we also have this week's highlights and headlines. I'll just quickly say before we get onto Nintendo Direct that you did mention previously that there's a price hike with Game Pass coming. So you can expect that. I think it's on August the 1st, they put down here in The Verge. But it looks like the Xbox Series X and Game Pass are both going to get a price hike.
Yeah.
The PC Game Pass and Series S will be staying at the same price, but the Series X is going to go up to $479.99, and the cost of Game Pass is going to be rising from $7.99 to $8.99 a month for the regular Game Pass, and Ultimate will jump up from $10.99 to $12.99. The other thing is there was a rumor this week, because you may remember there's a Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 on its way, a collection of Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and Snake Eater.
Yeah.
And that is due to come out on all the platforms by the looks of it. And they have a website that shows off Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, and also there's space for Volume 2. But then someone's done some digging around on Twitter, and they've managed to find that it looks like the Volume 2 is Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5 and Peace Walker.
Right.
So it looks like we could finally be getting Metal Gear Solid 4 away from the PlayStation 3 exclusivity, away from having to play it through a cloud service, away from emulation, and actually being able to just pick it up and buy it and play it on a different console. And I'm all for that, because every time I want to go play that game, it really doesn't perform that well on PS3, especially the older ones, because the console's just a bit iffy now. And there's no other way of doing it unless you want to get into the emulation side of things, but PS3 is notoriously difficult to emulate for, and the cloud play stuff is not good for that game. But that'll be cool if that's coming. That'll be one I'll have to pick up. And then the other one, I thought this was interesting because it wasn't that long ago we got a proper look at Immortals of Aveum, or Avium. I think it's Avium. But that's EA's upcoming first-person shooter that's all magic based. And that was meant to be releasing next month. That's now been pushed back to August 22nd, so 1 month delay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game.
Yes, you said. I'm not so keen, but I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, might play it at some point, but not rushing to it again.
All right. So onto the Nintendo Direct, and we won't go through the entire thing. We'll just kind of we'll go through it in order, and we'll pick and choose the ones that we want to talk about, the biggest ones that we should talk about, I guess. So starting off, they had a whole thing on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the expansion Hidden Treasure of Era Zero, and that's the Teal Mask expansion coming in fall, and the Indigo Disc expansion coming in winter. Now, if this was a really good game initially, performed really well, I would be very excited for this. But because I couldn't stick with all the tech issues and put it down, and looking at this trailer, I was like, yeah, it just doesn't look good. So I'm not too excited about this. What I am excited about, though, is Sonic Superstars. That got announced, a month ago, and or a couple of weeks ago, because a lot of this stuff as well, it's been announced because it was on the Xbox showcase and on the several different things over the summer of gaming. And it's a case of, this is one of them. It's Sonic Superstars got announced. We now know it's coming to the Switch. It's a nice little 2D, 3D version of Sonic, kind of like they tried to with Sonic 4, but didn't do very well because that game played like arse. I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah.
Did you have one that you were particularly excited in, Tim?
There was a couple that stood out to me. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon Remaster, coming from the 3DS to this. Now that my 3DS is kind of mothballed, I do have it around somewhere, but I don't think I've got a charger for it anymore. But yeah, like I would quite like to play through that. I really like that game. Kind of might be price dependent as to like how likely I am to pick it up anywhere near launch. But yeah, I like my Luigi's Mansion game basically. So yeah, that was one that kind of caught my eye. The other thing was Gloomhaven. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show before, but yeah, I have a Gloomhaven group. We haven't actually played much lately because someone moved away, which is making things awkward. But generally, we meet up regularly and play through Gloomhaven. Anyone doesn't know, it's kind of legacy dungeon crawling co-op battling game, basically. And yeah, there's a kind of RPG thing to it. The legacy element is you can kind of play through as a character and retire them and then pick another character type of thing. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see how that sort of is integrated. I know there's been a PC version that's been out for a while, but as we've covered on the show many times, I don't really PC game. Yeah, like I've held off from buying it on any other platforms. And yeah, this is probably a good fit as it's a kind of, guessing it's going to be like turn-based RPG with some legacy elements to it. But the PC game's like highly regarded, so I imagine this will be good. I don't know what the kind of multiplayer options and stuff are going to be like, but yeah, I'm interested anyway, basically.
Okay. Well, I thought, we should talk about there's Detective Pikachu 2, which I can't remember if this is a port of 2 or if this is just the sequel, but again, Game Freak, what's going on? This game, I know the first Detective Pikachu game was very popular because of the premise, and then they had the whole movie. And then the sequel, I think, was put on ice for quite some time. And I know the movie got cancelled quietly. But this doesn't look good. I don't know if it's like, did Game Freak just, did they not know how to develop for the Switch? Because they seem to have a lot of problems with their games on Switch. And this is one of them. Like, the shading is a nightmare on some of those character models. It doesn't look that impressive at all. And yet they're still struggling. I don't know. I don't make games for a living, but just looks at when you're looking at competitors, this is not a sterling example for you. No. What is, however, is Super Mario RPG, which is one of my all-time classic favorites.
Oh.
It was one I was very excited about as a kid that never came out in the UK. So I got all excited, didn't get to play it.
Oh.
Finally got to play it when it came to the Wii Shop channel.
Right.
And played through that, loved it. Have since gone back and emulated it, bought it on other systems, and played it on. I think you can play it on the Virtual Console. Actually, not the Virtual Console. What do they call it? The Nintendo Online thing. I think it's on the SNES version. But there is an actual remaster of it, and it looks really nice. It's kind of keeping that same aesthetic from the SNES version, but making it all HDified and new character models and stuff. I really like that idea. And that's coming November 17th. So I'll be picking that one up, I think, even if it is just to rip it and stick it on a Steam Deck.
Okay.
Also, in the big kind of tentpole ones announced, there's an untitled Princess Peach game, which looks like it's a 2.5D side scroller, and there was another DLC expansion to Sparks of Hope, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, called The Last Spark Hunter. That's hard to say.
You nearly said something that you definitely don't want to say around Mario.
Which is out right now. Tim, you'll be happy with this one. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 5. Yeah, that's coming out in the summer. We got to see Double Dash's PT Piranha, Mario Kart 7's Wiggler, and Mario Kart Tour's Kamek. That looks really cool. New characters. I like new characters. Also, we got a new WarioWare Move It. That looks fun.
Yeah.
November 6th. And of course, a brand new Super Mario Brothers game called Super Mario Brothers Wonder coming out October 20th. Mario's an elephant now.
Yes. After weeks of you teasing me about there being elephants in the room, now there is an elephant in the room and his name is Mario.
Yes.
But yeah, like it did. Right, as much as I'm not a massive fan of 2D Mario games, that did look quite adorable. All the flowers saying hello, and yeah.
But those look to be the biggest ones. There's some little ones, like the Arkham games are coming over, which seems like a weird choice to do at the tail end of your console.
Yeah.
Like, that should have been there to begin with. Pikmin 1 and 2, they've been remastered and coming out September 22nd. And Pikmin 4, of course, we saw about that previously. That's coming out July 21st. I'm not too interested on Pikmin these days. I'm sure other people are. And the Metal Gear Solid Collection, the Master Collection we spoke about earlier, Volume 1, that is coming out October 24th to Switch as well. Oh, and Vampire Survivors come out August 17th.
Yeah, Dan will be pleased about that.
Yes. Were there any other ones on here that caught your eyes? Caught your eye in particular, Tim?
I always feel like I should be more interested in Pikmin than I am. This reminded me, as you said, about Mario and Rabbids, that exists, and I still haven't played it, and possibly should. Myth Force looked like it might be fun, and I'd seen something. I'm not sure if that was on consoles already. I definitely on PC, but that looked like it could be interesting. Kind of 80s cartoon inspired.
I remember you bringing this up before when it was in early access.
Yeah. That looked like
interesting aesthetic. Not sure I'd be into the gameplay.
That's what I'm a bit more iffy on. Again, that might be slightly price dependent. See what price it comes out on the Switch, because I could see that being quite fun on the Switch possibly. Headbangers didn't look like my type of thing, but I'm surprised you haven't mentioned it.
Yeah, that looks like my kind of thing. We'll see what the price is. Again, I'm hoping that's out on other platforms as well, because I don't really play the Switch too much these days. That's out on October the 31st.
So Pigeon.
I like a rhythm game.
Yeah, Pigeon Rhythm Royale, basically.
Yes.
By the looks of things.
Interesting idea.
So I wonder if that might be free to play. Mm-hmm. That might be interesting if it was.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
But don't know anything on that. It's Team 17, so they don't usually do free to play stuff. But it would make sense if it's a massive multiplayer thing. Multipass. But then maybe Nintendo wouldn't have put it on one of their streams. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, we'll call it there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on this Nintendo Direct. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people have been very excited about it. There's been loads of YouTube videos and decent reactions and stuff. A lot of people very excited for what they've seen on there. Myself, personally, I'm a bit over the Switch. I don't know like how long we still have it for.
Because
of the things that are coming out. I'm just I'm just waiting for the next Switch before I get excited. About any releases for Nintendo, unless they truly something grabs my eye, which I'm not sure. But yeah, that was a Nintendo Direct. I'm sure you would have liked it if you're a Nintendo fan. Right, Tim, before we get out of here, shall we answer one of these questions that we've had stacked up for a little while?
Let's do one at least. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So if you've enjoyed the show, you can go to bigredbarrel.com. Over there, we have a comment section. We have a link to our Discord. We have a Facebook and a Twitter over at Big Red Barrel. And we also have a YouTube called Big Red Barrel TV. And of course, there are links to all those different methods of getting a hold of us in the show notes of this here show. So whatever way you're listening, scroll down, click one of the links or one of the URLs, and let it take you to one of those ways to get in contact with us. And while you're there, you can ask us loud, you can ask us proud, you can shout to us, you can say, I have a question, and you can ask us questions, and we'll probably answer them. Much like we've got Ed, good friend of the show. Ed has been on the show many a times. What features do you hate most in video games?
Features.
What features? I would say microtransactions. That's a feature, right?
I mean, yeah.
Purchasable game currency.
Yeah, no, I think I was going to say like things that speed up your progress when they've clearly slowed down the overall game progress so that you want to buy that stuff. That's the worst form of microtransaction.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, the ability to speed up your progress a la Assassin's Creed just because that means that the game's been artificially difficulty increased or grinding or whatever just to make that more plausible for you. And then when you look at because I heard about this, and when I was thinking about getting into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I was like, well, how much is that pass? Because people say it's a lot better with the pass. It's like 18 quid.
Yeah.
Just to make the game run a bit better.
Well,
it's a bit rubbish.
In association with that, then also whale hunting prices and tactics. Like, haven't really spoken about it on the show, but been playing, as I mentioned to you the other day, still been playing a lot of Marvel Snap. But the prices for some of that stuff, like the bundles of stuff, like £99, you're like, come on, you're better than that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they're not necessarily video game features in the traditional sense, but I think scummy practices thrown into a hobby that we all love and enjoy and can actually have big problems with people with gambling addictions or encourage gambling addictions. I would put that as a feature in video games that I hate most.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
That and the thing in Mario, when you're playing the Mario, I know I'm going to sound like an old man. When you're playing Mario and you die like 3 times, and they go, "Here's a special invincibility Tanuki suit," right. I don't like that. And no. I understand it's there for children, but we didn't have that as children. I understand it's there for children. I'm absolutely fine with that feature. What I want is a little option in the menu to just turn it off. I don't mind it being there. I just want it to be optional.
To kind of spin it round to the beginning of the show again. Have you noticed in Street Fighter, if you lose in the arcade mode, it automatically, without like just one loss, you don't get another go. It automatically downgrades the level that you're playing against, which I think gives you a lower score in arcade as well. But so
I didn't know that.
It just slightly robs you of that sensation of, hey, I got better and overcame that person kind of thing in the arcade mode. That's one slight criticism. So, as you say, it's like, making things a bit too easy just because you failed once kind of thing. And not being able to adjust that so that you can stay at that level and feel like you've achieved something by overcoming it.
I don't know if they did this with the sequel, but I remember this was a thing in Injustice when you played through the story mode. If you lost a fight, the AI would get slightly worse to give you a chance at winning. If you won the fight, then the AI would get slightly better to give you more of a challenge. And that's kind of cool in some sense. But again, that's something I wish they would turn off and just let you pick a challenge setting kind of thing, because I want to improve. I don't want to get more getting harder as I play and then getting worse as I lose, that kind of thing. But, yeah, right. So before we properly get out of here, I hope that's a decent couple of answers for your question there, Ed. We've got to go and plug our merchandise, which you can find over at tpublic.com/stores/BRB. Over there, we've got t-shirts, mugs, phone cases, masks, anything that you could need with Big Red Barrel stuff on it. There's Big Red Barrel stuff on it, but also we have other designs there from some talented artists. Why not? If you're celebrating Street Fighter 6 like we are, go get yourself a nice Zangief t-shirt. I like it. I like the Sonic one as well. It's a very nice Sonic one.
Wow.
So that is once again tpublic.com/stores/BRB. And Tim, I believe that if we were looking for something to do on a Tuesday, then that would be a day to do something, because that Tuesday is in fact a Tuesday.
It is indeed. And each and every Tuesday we do an event at the Loading Bar in Stoke Newington called Tabletop Tuesday. We generally have a feature game, and if you play that feature game, you have a chance of winning that game at the end of the evening. We are doing a once a month social event as well, where we're playing more social deduction game type things. So every second Tuesday of the month, we'll generally be playing Blood on the Clock Tower for a bit. We're also got a different feature game this week. I'm just waiting to confirm one thing before I announce it, but there should be details on the top left-hand corner of Big Red Barrel, or you can check our meetup group and join the over 2,000 members there and search for Tabletop Tuesdays on meetup.com, or just come along to the Loading Bar in Stoke Newington on a Tuesday and play some good board games, meet some people that like playing those games, and possibly win some just by playing them most Tuesdays as well.
Excellent. So that is Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Dalston. No, that's not. It's in Stoke Newington. Yes. I did it this time. Yes. Loading in Stoke Newington. Be there every Tuesday. What'd you say, like 8 o'clock? It's a good time to come?
Yeah, 7:30, 8 o'clock is generally when we try and kick off.
7:30, 8 o'clock. Go play some games with some lovely, lovely people. I know a few lovely people that go down to there. And one time the Flash was there, and now they're gone. They may never return.
No.
Who knows? They may never return to acting. We just don't know what's going on. But yes, Tabletop Tuesday, tabletop board games, all good stuff. Tim, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Excellent. So I will do a quick beg for reviews of this here podcast. Whatever way you're listening to us, you could leave us a review on whatever podcast service, and that usually gets back to us in some form or another, and we can read it out on the show if it's a particularly good one. Or, you can write a bad one, but just leave us like a 5 stars anyway, and then we'll read your bad review and take the credit anyway. That's good and confusing to people as well. I like that. Or if you're on Spotify, I think you can just give us 5 stars and don't actually leave a review. I think it's just a star system after you've listened to a couple of episodes. So do that too. Anything to help us raise up in the algorithm somehow, get in the charts, back in your get us back into the UK's charts and back into the UK's hearts. BRB UK. My name is Coleman, and I approve of this message.
Okay.
So this has been episode 547 of BRB UK. Let's hope that Dan emerges from the sea once again like a giant air jaws, them sharks that jump out to get birds. Like that'd be really cool. Do that, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But until then, I have been Coleman.
I might have been Tim.
And Air Jaws, that's pretty damn chaotic. Until next time, dear listeners, goodbye.
Your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
So, jumping over to the Future Games Show, we've got C-Smash VRS, and I'm guessing you put that in there because you want to plug that you interview the developer, Jorg.
Entirely yes. Well done. You'd know this because you did a fine job of editing it, Mr. Coleman.